Hi, and welcome to The Healthy Family Law Attorney. Thank you for joining us. Today I have a special video that I want to provide. It's regarding collaborative law. It's a seminar that I put on with another family law attorney in the NADP, which is the National Association of Divorce Professionals. So the video is regarding collaborative law, and I know I've done a video previously on collaborative, but this is a give and take with Karina Leeson. She is a family law attorney in Central Florida, just like me. So I'm going to show that video. I want you to know a little bit more about the NADP. It's a national group of professionals dedicated to providing support to families going through the divorce process. So the groups are centered around the family law attorneys. So we have 3 family law attorneys. There are up to 30 categories in the NADP. So we have other types of attorneys like estate planning attorneys, real estate attorneys, adoption attorneys. And then we have other professions like therapists who work with children, who work with marriages, and also therapists who work in high conflict situations. We have realtors and mortgage brokers, financial advisors, we have CPAs, appraisers, those kinds of categories that really help. We have categories for insurance and so forth. So they support families going through divorce. They support family law attorneys, and I have this group as a great resource. I happen to be the director, started the group about 3.5 years ago. We have one of the largest, if not the largest chapter in the country with 30 professionals supporting the family law process. So I want to show this video regarding collaborative law. It's a type of law that I absolutely support and promote and agree with. I've done a prior video on collaborative, but this is a seminar that Karina Leeson and I put together. I wanted to provide this because I think it'll provide value. It's great content. It'll give you a really good idea. I think it's informative, and I think it's somewhat entertaining. So sit back and enjoy. And I hope if you find it valuable that you'll hit the like button or subscribe. And if you think it's something someone else might enjoy or actually benefit from or utilize, then please share that content. All right, thanks, and hope you enjoy the video.
Mark's law firm with more than 34 years of experience practicing law in Central Florida. He zealously represents his clients with integrity, dedication, and personal attention. Tom has been collaboratively trained since 2009 and has successfully resolved numerous collaborative cases over the past decade. He is also a member of the Collaborative Family Law Group of Central Florida and the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professional. He believes the big benefits of collaborative law are avoiding litigation and trial and helping parties reach their goals of co-parenting the children into the future agreed upon way and avoiding damage to the family emotionally, financially, spiritually, and in so many ways. Karina Leeson was collaborative trained in 2010. She's an active member of the same group, the Collaborative Family Law of Central Florida. She's on the board of directors for the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals and is also a member of the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals. While she still handles contested matters, she is focusing her efforts on helping families resolve their family law matters in a respectful and more peaceful manner through the collaborative process. She lives downtown with her husband and twin 7-year-old daughters and has recently added homeschooling in her spare time.
So we are going to talk today, Tom and I are going to talk to everyone today about the collaborative divorce process. I know a couple meetings back, Matt Bartolome had talked to us about the statute when it had first been enacted. And now that we've got the statutory procedures in place, it's really gotten more traction. And, you know, when Tom and I were talking about getting into this topic today, you know, we were just saying how relevant and critical this process is to families who are in the middle of or thinking about the divorce process because of the limitations to access to the courts during this time. While at least here in Central Florida, the judges have been very active in keeping access to the courts open. There's just going to be a lot of cases, and there have been a lot of cases that are delayed as a result of the limited access and the restrictions that are in place right now. So we're going to talk a little bit today about kind of the nuts and bolts of the collaborative divorce process and how it looks. I've had the pleasure of having a few collaborative cases with Tom. Hope to have many more, and I hope to have cases involving everybody in our NADP group, because that's certainly a possibility. Tom, did you want to say anything else in introduction?
No, I think that's good. I think we should go ahead and get started. I know that we have an expanded time today for our Ed Talk, so we have 30 minutes, but that puts us at about 2 minutes per slide. So I think we should get started.
We'll go fast.
Okay.
So the first slide here, I'll get us started, is talking about the different options for conflict resolution. And, many of us are, now familiarized with all the different versions, but I'm going to quickly go through this one so we can maybe save some time. But the first one is the kitchen table, and that's where husband and wife or mother and father or former spouses or whatever the case may be are sitting around a kitchen table as it suggests and figuring out the details of their divorce or family law matter between the two of them. This works great when both of them are kind of savvy about their finances and the parenting issues, if that's the case. Where it becomes a problem is where that is unbalanced. So, that typically will end up favoring one person or the other. Mediation, that's where parties may or may not be in active litigation and they decide to go to a neutral facilitator to help them kind of put together a settlement negotiation. This is good for a lot of folks, again, where you have that equality and they're familiar with their own finances and they're familiar with the parenting issues. That works really well. I would note, however, that it's still kind of it is a positional bargaining where people are going to be bargaining for their own best interest, versus a more neutral approach of interest-based negotiation. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we get to the collaborative process. Attorney settlement, obviously.
Serena, can you start the slides too, because we're seeing portions of your slides that I don't believe you want us to see.
Oh, okay. What should I do?
Start the slideshow from your current slide.
Start from current slide. Does that work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so attorney settlement, obviously that suggests both parties have attorneys. They're already going to be in that positional bargaining situation where the attorneys are now advocating on behalf of their client's best interest. And so again, it's going to be a positional bargaining situation. If that fails, everybody's going to end up in court. Again, that could be with or without lawyers, but typically they're with lawyers. And you're again going to be in the positional bargaining situation where you're now hoping. Oh, did I do that?
Yeah, that would be mine. I'll be next.
Oh, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
Right. Okay.
Oh, is it on a timer? Is that what's happening? I'm not sure how to pause it. So court is what everybody's familiar with. You're in the courtroom and a judge is making those decisions for the family. It's going to be positional. It's kind of a win-lose mentality, which is not always the best for a family in that circumstance. Collaborative process, I'm very passionate about. That is, it's a transition from positional bargaining to interest-based bargaining. And instead of focusing on the what, it focuses on the why. What are the goals that the family is trying to accomplish? And it focuses on solutions that will get that family there. Tom?
Okay, wonderful. So what is the collaborative process? Everybody knows it's a voluntary divorce process, but it's not just divorce. It can be paternity. It can be prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements. It can be modification. So people can be already divorced but want to go back and try to change something. They can want to increase or decrease the child support, the alimony, They can want to change the time sharing schedule. There we are, collaborative process. So what is it? So it's voluntary. It's also families, which it helps us reach resolution out of court, as Karina has said. It's really meetings where both parties and all the participants meet in one place, like in a conference room. Right now, obviously, we can't do that. So we're doing virtual Zoom collaborative cases. So that's part of the process now. So the parties mutually agree upon what's in the best interest of the children, okay? And so what we do is we focus on the goals of the parties. What are their goals? And it's amazing to see how similar the goals of, say, husband and wife will be. One will say, well, I want to protect the children from the divorce process. I want to make sure that we have enough to live on. Maybe I want to stay in the marital home until the youngest child turns 18. Well, then the other party ends up saying, well, that's what I want too. I want to protect the kids from the process. I want them to stay in the house. So it's amazing how it gets everybody on the same page. Now, part of the process is signing what's known as a collaborative participation agreement. That's the agreement that everybody signs that says, okay, this outlines the process, what the parameters are, the goal setting I just mentioned. It helps set up the process to be more amicable, less position-based bargaining, like Karina said. And it really, there's two things that are in there that are really important, and I'll finish on these. One, the attorneys sign it. They agree they have to withdraw if the collaborative process fails, which is rare, but it does happen. But the reason the attorneys have to withdraw is because it removes any incentive to foster or perpetuate litigation. So no attorney can benefit from any litigation if they're involved in the collaborative process. And finally, it's a confidential financial process. The parties don't have to file their financial affidavits as they would in the normal litigation process. And so their financial information is not on the public record. So that's a real positive.
So when we talk about the collaborative team, who makes up the team? There is a core of professionals as well as the participants who make up the team. So let's talk about who that is. Obviously, we have the participants, like I said, whether it's the divorcing spouses, the former spouses, parents, or even in cases of a prenuptial agreement, it could be just an engaged couple. They're going to be obviously involved. We've got collaborative lawyers for each of those participants. They're trained in the collaborative process, and they are going to advise their respective clients in the collaborative process, helping them understand the process and addressing and helping them with solutions. And again, as I'm going to reiterate what Tom said, the collaborative lawyers are obviously invested in the process by virtue of the participation agreement. And that's one of the reasons why we sign that agreement as well. We're invested in getting them to the finish line as much as they want to get to the finish line. Collaborative financial professionals. This is the neutral financial professional. They really focus on helping with producing the statement of net worth for the family and helping build options having to do with the distribution of their assets and liabilities and discussions around support. Whether it's alimony or child support or both. And sometimes where is this family going to fund this process? And they assist with that discussion. Sometimes we can have issues regarding a business valuation, and they can assist in that regard as well. The collaborative mental health professional or the facilitator is going to be the mental health professional. They help the collaborative team work through their emotions. They kind of keep us on track with agenda items, making sure that we're progressing in a positive, productive manner. And they're also going to help the family come up with a time sharing plan. So they're going to work offline with the parents if there's minor children involved to help them come up with that. Oftentimes, many times, as a matter of fact, we're going to have collaborative allied professionals that will come in and participate with different specialized professions, whether it's an appraisal, evaluation, financial advice, insurance needs, educational information, real estate. So oftentimes we're going to get those folks involved, and they're going to be part of the collaborative team as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Karina. So how does the collaborative case begin? It really begins when any person, typically one of the spouses or participants, comes to you. You can be a trusted friend, an advisor, like Karina said, an allied professional. Anyone in our group might have somebody come to you and either ask you about if you know a divorce attorney, or if you've ever heard of collaborative. Most people have not heard of collaborative. So it's an educational process. So the first thing you do, obviously, is listen. That's one thing that I have written at the top of our intake sheet that all of our attorneys use. And it says at the very top, listen. What is it that the person, the participant, really wants to accomplish? They may be someone who talks about scorched earth and they want revenge and they want to hurt somebody. Unless you're able, through listening and educating, to help them understand how powerful and how beneficial collaborative cases are, then someone like that may not be a good fit for collaborative. However, most people are. Most people want to protect the children. Most people want to avoid a really expensive litigation. And if you educate them and say, okay, here are all the benefits of collaborative. It's voluntary, it's goal setting, you protect the children, it's confidential, it's less expensive than litigation, then they may become interested. So then what do? Well, you refer them to a collaboratively trained professional. That can be a mental health professional, can be a financial professional, or it can be one of the collaboratively trained attorneys like Karina or me or Mary in the group who do collaborative cases. So this is where we talk about the participation agreement. When the parties come in or they meet with the attorneys, typically the attorneys draft the participation agreement. There's a fairly standard form participation agreement that the attorneys naturally agree upon. So it includes things like, yes, we agree to settle without going to court. So the parties are given the incentive to avoid court. As I said before, the attorneys have to withdraw if the case doesn't settle or if it fails. I can say I've only ever had one collaborative case fail. And I hate to say it, but it's because I was representing a very high-powered senior partner, lawyer in a big firm, and he thought he knew more than everyone. So things like that do happen, but it's rare. It's all about honesty and full disclosure, transparency, satisfying the interests of both parties, as well as the family, thinking about the children, putting them first, cooperation, integrity, respect, and dignity. Appropriate communication with the children. So parties should not talk to the children about the collaborative case. And I think I'm probably about out of time.
Sorry about that.
Moving on. Nope,
okay.
That's okay.
I was not trying to prompt you there, but sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Your turn.
So what does the process look like? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can get this to pause. What does the process look like? Typically in the very beginning of the process, the participants will meet individually with both the facilitator, the mental health professional, as well as the neutral financial expert. And they'll have those meetings scheduled separately, like I said. Following that, the professional team only will then get together to kind of discuss the goals and and what the family is trying to accomplish and what we're working with as far as the family dynamics. We then will schedule a series of full collaborative team meetings, as Tom mentioned, that at the very beginning, at the outset, starts with goal setting. And very often, if not almost always, there will be similar goals that will be mentioned by both of the participants, which is a great stage that's set for, moving towards that cooperative, collaborative mentality and getting something accomplished that works for everyone. Again, transitioning away from that position-based bargaining and focusing more on interests and the family interests. I will always have, and I believe, Tom, this is something you do too, additional meetings with the participant client. And they will also have some other separate offline meetings as well. So I will typically have a meeting both before and after the full team meeting, so that I can educate my client. I can let them know what's happening. I pride myself in over communicating with my clients. And so I'm going to tell them what's coming up, what's happening, what to expect, and then we'll do a debrief after that. Each of the meetings involves, like I said, a very specific agenda. Our neutral mental health facilitator is the one that kind of keeps everybody on track. And this is in stark contrast to what you would see in a mediation. I've been in mediations that I know Mary and Tom, both of you have as well, over 10-hour-long mediations. Everybody's exhausted. People are fatigued. They sometimes reach agreements that they wake up the next day and they're, regret. We don't do that in the collaborative process. In the collaborative process, we have very specific agenda items. One day we'll be talking about what the disposition of the marital home is going to be. One day we'll be talking about, how are we going to divide up the rest of these assets and liabilities? Another meeting will be, miscellaneous items. We know the parenting plan is going to be an offline meeting that the participants work with the mental health facilitator. But the point is that there's very specific agenda items. People can feel prepared to make an informed decision, and they're not going to feel like they're caught off guard by some other topic that was like, oh, well, what about this and what about that? So it just allows people to be prepared and feel like they're participating appropriately. Team meetings can be paced according to the family needs. Typically, they're scheduled out a month, monthly meetings. But I've had a collaborative case where we scheduled our meetings 2 to 3 weeks apart instead. They wanted to move it along a little bit faster. And of course, today we're doing virtual and remote. So that can speed things up or, a little bit more. And certainly it brings accessibility for people that they don't have to travel to and from these meetings. It's just a lot more convenient.
Okay, so allied professionals, this is actually where all of you come in. I think I remember when Matt Bartolome presented on this, he asked the question, how many of you are collaboratively trained or have been involved in a collaborative case? And a good number of you raised your hands. You don't have to actually be collaboratively trained or to have already been involved in a collaborative case to be part of the process. So you can become involved in a case as an allied professional. And I've seen it, and others in the group have been involved in cases. I know financial advisors, mortgage brokers, therapists, and others on here. But if you read through the list, financial advisor, realtor, mortgage broker, credit counselor, therapist, vocational counselor, mediator, business evaluator, appraiser, insurance specialist, CPA, estate planning, auctioneer, other attorneys like estate planning or business or tax or real estate. So that pretty much covers everyone in our NADP chapter. And I know that there's great value in being able, as a family law attorney who does collaborative, to be able to pick up the phone or text or email the allied professional or other professional, like in our group, like actually Karina and I did in a collaborative case, the issue of whether my client, the wife, could afford to stay in the house. Could she refinance? And we talked about it, and the husband said he's fine with her staying in the house, and he wanted that to happen with the kids. He just wanted his name off the mortgage. And so I emailed or texted, I probably texted one of you fabulous people in our group, Christina Rusi. I hope it's okay to have said your name. But within 10 or 15 minutes, she had texted back based on what I provided in the terms of what was the income of my client, what was the value of the house, what was the balance of the mortgage, those kinds of things. She was able to say, yes, we can get her qualified. And so Karina and I could move forward with the case. And it was a very positive moment inside that collaborative team meeting. So that helped not only Karina and I and the parties, but the mental health neutral and the financial neutral. So that's what makes the team. I know there's therapists in the group that have referred cases, and also for Karina and I. And it's been great. And I hope it's okay to say Jennifer was part of that and became part of the group and was another
Yes, thank
great.
you.
Okay, good. I have your permission. Jennifer Megbanawa. So she did a fantastic job in that collaborative case. And at the end, what Karina and I saw was the husband and wife, even though they were getting a divorce, they were working so well together because they had such a high trust level with the team and how it had been referred in by Jennifer, that I think they drove together to the meetings. They sat next to each other in the meetings, and they left together in the meetings. And they're raising and co-parenting with their children so well. Like, it just doesn't happen like that in litigation cases. So allied professionals are key. That's my take on it.
Agree 100%. Okay. And we've kind of talked about this throughout the presentation, so I'll go through it kind of quickly because we have just a couple more slides I want to get through. But the benefits of the collaborative process, as Tom mentioned at the beginning too, it protects, if privacy is a main concern for parties, they should absolutely consider this process. It takes their divorce or their family law case out of the public record. So whether it's high net worth, whether it's people want to keep their privacy and their anonymity with their family affairs, anything in between, this is a process for them to consider, because there's very little that needs to get filed once they enter into this process. So that's something that certainly is protected in this process. It preserves their assets. Because of the nature of this process and the fact that it is more efficient and there's cost savings, this certainly allows for the parties to keep more of their assets for their own family, as opposed to spending it on lengthy litigation matters, attorney's fees, and everything else that comes in between. It prioritizes family relationships. So this is critical where parties have minor children. In the case that Tom and I had, Tom, correct me if I'm mistaken, I think they had 4 children.
I think that's right.
So that was a really important goal for them, was to come out of this on the other side and be successful co-parents. And one of the things that really I've seen happen with these collaborative cases is when working with the mental health facilitator and coming up with a parenting plan that they're going to be using, they come out of it with better communication skills for sure. And then secondarily, it sets them up for their own ability to make modifications that will work for their family as the children grow older. And that's really important because, I don't want to see a lot of repeat clients coming in because they now need to do a modification of time sharing or an enforcement of time sharing, when they should be able to work these things out between themselves. And this process certainly sets them up for the future to do that. And that's exactly what the next point is there. It focuses on the future rather than the past. In litigation, you'll traditionally see all of everybody's skeletons come out, and, it's War of the Roses. And, you see every little mistake and hear about every little mistake that somebody did, whether it was with the finances, the parenting, or, whatever the case may be. The collaborative process really tries to take the mentality of focusing on those past things, because you're trying to make your case. And it's a forward-looking thing. How can we set you up for your future, and now transitioned into 2 households? It allows the control of the decision-making process by the participants. Family decisions, my personal opinion is they should not be in front of a judge unless absolutely necessary. Litigation should be a last resort and not a first resort. I think that there's so many other methodologies for alternative dispute resolution that should be exhausted before folks end up in court, letting a perfect stranger make those tough decisions. So this process allows the 2 participants to make those decisions, and that's really important. And again, it's the efficiency and the cost savings. I just had 2 cases in the fall of last year. Tom, one of them was with you. We got done with the collaborative divorce process within 90 days. That's pretty unheard of for even an uncontested divorce that's filed as a litigation case. So you can see that getting through that process in a quick, efficient manner is obviously going to, again, spill into preserving the assets and letting those assets remain with the family, as opposed to, keeping lawyers and other experts and, multiple experts for the same profession, in fact, when you're in litigation, on the payroll for long periods of time.
Okay, great. Let me just piggyback on what Karina just said about that case, because that was a really significant case and really a little bit unusual, but still possible. We finished that case in 2 collaborative meetings, which is not the normal, but the parties wanted it done that way. And this was not a simple case either. This, I have to give kudo or shout out to Susan Wazina on this as the financial. She did just an amazing job. This was a complex business case where they owned a lucrative business, where they wanted a very unique situation where the wife would actually stay in the business, or at least receive income from the business, and then when it sold later, she would receive proceeds from the business. So we had to bring in a business law attorney.
2-minute warning.
Okay, thank you. Of course, the warning is always to me, but I'm good with that. So anyway, let me finish this slide here. Collaborative process, other family law. The good thing is we've already talked about most of these. It encompasses paternity, modification, prenups, and prenuptials. The only thing we didn't say is separation agreements. How do non-married parties and married parties separate their assets? There is something called an action for support and maintenance without dissolution. So you can actually separate assets without and do support without getting divorced. All right, I'm done with that one.
Okay, we're going to speed through the next 2. How can everybody here in our group listening today help get the word out? Consumer awareness. We want to, get the word out. Obviously, if someone has a divorce or family law issue, get them to a trained collaborative professional or somebody that will pass the word on about, have you heard about the collaborative process? This is something you might want to consider. As soon as I get done with this, well, I don't know if I can share this. I'll have to see if I can. I've got a chart which I will have Christy, I'm hoping, distribute to the group it's a comparison of collaborative process versus litigation. And it just it's a handout. Feel free to pass it out. It's from the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals that they put that together. So that's kind of something that you can give someone to say, listen, this is maybe a process that you want to consider. But anyone can be a resource for a potential collaborative case. Here are a couple of online resources. The local collaborative group here of Central Florida, our statewide practice, Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals, and the IACP, the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals. So those are just some resources. But certainly, send them to me, Tom, Mary. We can tell them about the collaborative process. And I even welcome speaking to anyone about it without a formal consultation. I'll just do like a primer if they're interested in that option, just to learn more about it. And kind of in closing, just a little funny, since we're all on Zoom in boxes right now.
All right, I hope everybody enjoyed that, and I hope everybody utilizes the handout that Karina is going to send, or that Christy will send from Karina. Remember, I do believe your family matters, and I do want to provide hope and help to your family to navigate the family law process in not only a successful way, but in a healthy way. So I'm coming out with new videos every Wednesday with legal content, and every Friday with interviews of other professionals that will support and help you go through the family law process. So join us on the next video, and I'll see you then. Thanks.